Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I want to say a big hello and welcome to all the new subscribers. This video is going to be a little bit different. I had a request. I'm going to go ahead and throw out a couple of names, a couple of YouTubers. Hopefully I'm getting it right. Von Kaser, Jager 590Z, and Matt Mills both asked me if I would do a video on my coil tester, and I think that it's really a timely, a good request. I'm really happy to get it because I have some concerns that a lot of this equipment that I have probably comes available at like flea markets, swap meets, and different things. And it's good equipment, it's just a lot of people don't know what it is. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of the newer marine shops and so forth, they won't mess with these old two-stroke outboards. You bring in your mid-80s, early 90s, two-stroke Johnson Evinrude, Mercury, whatever it might be, and if they're in the four-stroke world and all that, they just won't mess with them. They won't repair them. They'll say, too old, ain't gonna mess with it. And that being the case, a lot of smaller outboard shops across the country have went out of business, and likely a lot of this equipment that I have probably turns up at, who knows, garage sales, like I said, flea markets and stuff, and it's really good equipment, and you can actually buy today's equivalent of some of this equipment that does the same thing, and it's very expensive. And so I can't go too in-depth on all the testing, especially electronic testing equipment I have, because I've got tons of it. But I do want to show you some of the stuff that probably is out there coming available, and I know this for one fact for sure, because I bought one, a piece of equipment that is, it's to me, it's must-have. If you look in any Evinrude Johnson shop manual, any OMC shop manual, it's going to show this very equipment that I have. It's going to show the very brand, and it's going to tell you to use these particular test items. Not saying that you can't do it other ways. And so that being said, I want to get to it. I'll get to my coil testing here in just a moment, but first thing I wanted to show you, and I wanted to show you on some equipment where the names kind of come through good. Stevens Experimental, or Stevens, they started out as Stevens Experimental Company, and then they went into Stevens Instrument Company. And this is an old Stevens tack dwell. Very useful if you're doing running tests, setting RPMs, different things like that. So the Stevens Experimental brand, it's what is actually in the manuals for OMC. Here's a Stevens Instrument Company analog multimeter. And again, this is not any different than many analog multimeters. In fact, I prefer a different one that I have, and I'll show you that one. But this is the one the manual is going to call for. Right there, Stevens Instrument Company. The other brand that is in the manual, I have a few pieces of their equipment. Again, this is a tack dwell. Unfortunately, they write their logo and so forth so small. Hopefully I can get it on camera. This is a tack dwell too. This is the other one that's going to be in the manual. It's called Mercotronics. Good stuff. And like I said, I'm sure these things are probably, as these smaller old two-stroke outboard shops close up and give way to the four-stroke revolution, this equipment is probably coming up. you know, in Goodwills, thrift stores, who knows. But I don't know if you're going to be able to see it or not, because like I said, they write it really small. But right here's their emblem, and it's Mercotronics. I also have it here. Whoops, sorry about that. Get you straightened back out. It's also on the clamp here. Make sure I got it right side up. So that's the Mercotronics. And it only says Mercotronics right here on this little circle. It says Merc-O-Tronics. I don't know if you can see that or not. But anyway, Mercotronics, another good brand. You might see their coil testers come up. And different items like that. So, here's one that I told you I got at a yard sale when I was down in Florida. Stevens Instrument, and this is an absolute necessity. And even though I have the modern version of it, I prefer this. This is the one, the manual for OMC and Johnson. And what this is, and you should be able to read it there, it's a peak voltage tester. And you just got to have that. Right there, peak voltage tester. It's got the different settings, and the manual's going to tell you exactly where to put these settings and so forth. I picked one of these up for like, I think it was $5 at a flea market down in Florida. So, and this is, like I said, this is, you must have this to do most, not most, but if you want to test things properly, like the charge coil, the trigger and everything, you've got to have a peak voltage tester. Now, when I'm working on like the Japanese engines and so forth, there's another brand, and I recommend everybody go to their website. It's CDI Electronics, and this here is also a multimeter. Very good one. This one I think went for about $160. It's very good, but it's nothing more than a digital multimeter until you add this. This little unit right here, just this adapter, is $100. And so this is from CDI Electronics. You can go to their website. They have a fantastic troubleshooting page there. It's PDF files, covers just about every engine that there is that uses CDI Electronics, which is a lot, and almost all of Evinrude, Johnson, and Mercury. So this right here is a peak voltage reading adapter to this multimeter. They make a combined unit now, so you don't have to buy this as an adapter. You can still buy it as an adapter, but one of their newer, this one's a 130 if I remember right, it's a 511 33, and they make a newer model now that combines this just like this Stevens Instrument Company. However, this is digital, where this analog one is an older style, but I prefer the analog one, especially doing Evinrude & Johnson. So you can get the newer stuff, but like I said, a lot of this equipment I believe is in and up out there in junk shops and so forth, and a lot of people just don't know what it is. But so keep an eye out for Mercotronics or Stevens Instrument Company. They make great outboard testing equipment, and of course you can use it on most engines and so forth. Like I said, I could talk more. This CDI one here, this digital one, has a inside here a little card for calibration and so forth. So those are just some of the things that are floating around out there. I have so much Stevens instrument stuff. I have RPM instruments that's all they do is read RPMs. I have a milliamp and an amp checker. It just checks amps and milliamps from Stevens Instrument Companies. So this stuff is out there, And then I'm going to show you, do you need this equipment to do most testing? No. You can do it with a plain old multimeter. You can test continuity and ohms, resistance, and so forth with something like this. It's just a digital meter that you can buy up at any local auto store, hardware store, probably even Walmart, and you can test a lot of things with this. But there are limitations to it. And then, just to show you real quick, I have other things. I was telling you, when it comes to the analog multimeters, the Evinrude Johnson Shops manuals are going to tell you to use an analog multimeter, put it on the low setting, put it on the times 1,000 setting. This is kind of the standard go-to, and this is a fantastic analog meter made by Simpson, and if you're ever going to buy one, I recommend you buy, and this can be used on any place you would use a multimeter for. But it has, R times 100, R times 1,000, all, and the manual for OMCs and all is going to tell you, put it on the low ohm setting and all, and it'll tell you which one of those that is. Well, what I like about this one is it has a reset in it, so if you hook it up to too much voltage or something, it just pops this little white button out here. This is the standard go-to Simpson 260, and like I said, if you ever get one, try and get one with that reset button, because you can do damage to them, and this is a protection breaker that kind of overrides that. But this is my go-to analog meter when I am doing electronic stuff on OMC Johnson Mercury. Like I said, I have the Stevens instrument. I just prefer this one better. It's easier to read and so forth, and it has the protection switch in it. So that's your standard. You can get these on eBay and all over the internet. Here's a cheaper version. This one's made by GB Industries. You could probably get that at your local hardware store. It will do everything this one will do, probably, at a fraction of the cost. But I use them so much, and I've had this one for decades, so good stuff there. Simpson 260, analog multimeter. Okay, now, if you want to get into some, like I said, everything that you're going to do, digital multimeter and everything, with the exception of peak voltage, you could probably get by with something like this. I do so much of it, though. Sometimes I have to have some really accurate stuff and so forth, and that's where these you can get into some money. Fluke, they're as good as they get. Period. These things cost hundreds of dollars. This is a Fluke 27 FM. This is a Fluke 77 AM. And I've got other Flukes. They're expensive. You can pay hundreds of dollars for them. Do you need them? No. But I throw them out there because, again, if you're at a garage sale, yard sale, and you see something with the word Fluke on it, it's quality. So you might want to pick those up if you see them. Because, like I said, new, they're expensive. So that's just touching on some of the stuff I have. Now, the point of the video was the coil tester. Okay. Here's my coil tester. It's a Stevens Instrument Company. Hopefully you can see it. ST75. And I'm going to test a couple coils here and show you how this thing works. Hopefully I got you close enough that you should be able to see everything I'm doing. Alright. Alright, the first thing I'm going to test is your standard CD coil. Now the way this thing works, it works on battery or AC current. I have this one hardwired into AC. I normally keep it over there on a shelf. Alright, it comes with a little adapter thing. I long since broke mine and made another one. That's for the deep holes in the some of these coils that have deep boot sockets and stuff. Such as this guy here. You would use this to stick up in there. There you go, like that. All right, hopefully you can see that. All right, so to test a coil, this will test both the CDI type coils and the old style points and condenser coils. So, and the way mine works is you've got your secondary or your secondary high tension lead. You put this big thick red one on there, and I've got a manual for this, and I'll explain all that. All right, then you take the one that says red to the hot wire on the coil. Then you take the one that's got black, you put it on the ground on the coil. This is a probe. I'll show you that in a little bit. All right, so it's got some settings here. I'm going to put it on where it says CD coil there. All right, you want to turn this current down to about a fairly low setting. It goes way over here, and the manual says turn it to a low setting first starting out. All right, this is the calibration, and this is a check. So if you look in this window right here, and I don't know if this coil is good or bad. I know I do have a good one and a bad one for testing purposes. But if you look in this little window here, if it's good, okay, and if you see there's no spark jumping in there. No matter how much current I apply, you can see the current went way up. That's a dead coil. So let's turn it back down. So this coil is no good. All right, so we decided that one's bad. Well, my machine decided it's bad. All right, so now, same hookup. Secondary high tension lead there. Thick red one. Black to ground. Hot to the hot wire. Okay. Again, the current's moderately down. The calibration's down. Look in the window. Okay, that's a good coil. I can turn it all the way down, current and stuff. And you can see it firing there. At least I hope you can. So that coil's good. So that'd be one I could use. All right. Now these old stuff, this is another, it's just a form, this is a CD coil. So again, black to ground. This to your hot wire. And with that extension on there going into the secondary high tension lead. Again, that coil's good. So that's how I test them. Now there's some, there's more that this thing does condensers, it does all kind of things. Let's get this guy. This is the old point style. And I specifically chose this one to show you. It's all cracked. This is the old Duralin style coating. If you got one of these, get rid of it. They're translucent and look tea colored. All right, so let me see. Get rid of that. I don't think we need that. Okay. Again, secondary high tension lead. It's right up in that hole. There's a little needle. Hot to the hot. All right, almost. Okay, and then ground to ground. Sort of. All right. Now, if I do it here, you can see nothing in the window. And that's because we're on a CD coil. So we got to turn the lever to the standard old ignition coil. Nothing there. Turn the current up. I kind of saw something, I thought. It's arcing or something. Oh, I know what it is. This. All right, let's try that. Nothing. So that's a dead coil there. All right, getting back at this coil tester. My battery died, so anyway, I've got this thing set up just like we had it before. We've got it on standard. You can see that coil's dead. This is a probe And even though this one, like I said, I wanted you to see the obvious here, but you use this probe on it for finding leaks in the casing or anywhere around. You could use it and test around, like on this model coil where the spark plug wire comes right out of the plastic there. You would probe all around in there, and you can probe in here and find leaks, and it'll be arcing and sparking if you do. So go ahead and do that. I'm hoping you can see that. But you get a spark, you can increase the voltage. Hopefully you can see she gets the spark in there. So there's a good leak there. Hopefully you can see that one. So you would probe around anywhere there might be some leakage. Obviously there's going to be some leakage in this guy, because it's so that's what the probe's for. Some other things about this, I have a manual for it, and it's going to tell me, values for different coils. In the back of the manual here, it has the different makes, models, and Lawn Boy, Mariner, Mercury, Johnson, and it'll give you whether they're reverse polarity or regular polarity, and it'll give you a range where your voltage settings and so forth should start to fire. What I've found is they'll almost always fire if they're good, and then, but it tells you in here on the instructions that if the arc in the little window is curved, that probably means you've got the polarity backwards. So just switch it, and then it should straighten out. And that's really all there is to it. It tells me how to test condensers. I'm not going to bother showing you that. And you say, why not? Well, because condensers cost $2. Buy a new one. That's just one less thing that you really have to worry about. So, so that's my ST75 coil tester. And I have, like I said, I could sit here and show you different pieces of electronic testing equipment for hours. I've got probably 3 toolboxes, roller cabinet toolboxes full of it, and just about every other specialty OMC, Johnson, and tool made. So if you're digging around in your shop's manual and it says, you know, in order to do this repair you need special tool number, blah, 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 drop me a line. I can probably show you what that tool looks like, how it functions. I did not go over everything that my coil tester does. It obviously does. I mean, if you want, you can test the voltage on a battery with it. You can, I could show you how to calibrate it. It has all kind of functions. I primarily use it for coil testing. And sometimes I use it to see starter draw and drag and so forth like that. But I've got all this equipment. I've got much more, from the high end to stuff you can get at your local hardware store that can get the job done. You can certainly test for ohms resistance and continuity and everything with a $12 multimeter. So that's my coil tester. That's how I mostly use it. And I want to thanks for the request. Like I said, a lot of this equipment, Stevens Instrument Company, Mercotronics. If you come across any kind of electronic testing box at a rummage sale or whatever, and it says Stevens Instrument Company or Mercotronics, that'd probably be something you want to pick up if you can get it cheap. So that's my coil tester. Sorry it kind of went a little bit long here. I wish I could show you more on it, but that's the basics of it. And so thanks for the questions and thanks for watching.